So a quick recap on commodities, starting off with the DXY. Not sure whether it was bullish, bearish, or neutral. This candle, we had a close low of day on Thursday, looked pretty ugly, looked like continuation was inevitable, which was the case on Friday, but this bounced back from the lows. I'm not sure if it closed within the trend line or not. Really, it's give or take. I think we just need one more day. If we start to close below Friday's close, that would indicate for me that it's bearish. We're going to actually go lower all the way down to 101 or 100.8. But if we just rally just even a little bit, that would kind of confirm that they'll have a small reversal and it might bounce a little bit. So for me, DXY is slightly bearish, but not that bearish at all. That makes sense. And also, if we look at currencies, by the way, real quickly, Euro US dollar suggests to me that it's ready to go up, but Friday wasn't the day because look at the candles before that. We come all the way back down. That's a cup. This is a handle, and then this is a handle, which is just led to a dud breakout. So I still think this is slightly bullish, just which coincides with this being slightly bearish. The DXY, the overall weighting. Likewise, US dollar, Japanese yen. This is actually a bit more neutral. I'm not going to say this is bearish. I mean, it's certainly not strong, but it's a decent candle. I mean, this gives the excuse for a potential, another candle going up a little bit. So this is neutral. But overall, neutral US dollar, Japanese yen, Euro US dollar, this is bullish, which means bearish, the DXY. So overall, ever so slightly bearish. That's my take on the DXY. Let's look at copper. This is, like climbing a wall of worry. This is slightly bullish. Copper, which was just drifting sideways for very long. It was pretty weak. And then, it started to indicate maybe it's got a bit more upside. And obviously the markets went up a lot. That helped copper. The dollar went down a lot. That helps copper. So copper's had a lot of help. And here you can see we're stuck at the sort of upper end of the channel being basically 3.93 and then 3.73. So like a 20-cent channel here. And you could say the middle point is a bit of support resistance, actually, funny enough. And here we are pretty much just under the absolute highs. Now, do we go higher? Yes, we can, especially if the DXY goes lower. And the markets, I don't see the markets really having much further upside because they've just done so much in such little time. But if copper was to close above 3.9, let's say 5, I think it would just go straight to 4.0, 4.03, 4.02. At least test 4, probably close above 4 that same day. So yeah, we've got this little bit of a move higher that could take place, but we need just a better close. It's just we're running out of ways for the copper to close higher because, like I said, the dollar could bounce and the markets could definitely drop. So you'd really need just a few more days of what's been working recently, the dollar crashing, which definitely could happen, and the markets going higher, which is hard to see. So copper is pretty much near resistance, and I think, all things considered, we may have a move back down to the midpoint at least pretty soon. Okay, natural gas. This one looks good. Look at the weekly chart, by the way. This one I thought would bounce a lot sooner than it has, and it hasn't really bounced yet, but look at that. We've come all the way back down, pretty much to the lows, 2.2s. And we've got 2 weekly candles here on the lows, a better close on this weekly candle. Let's look at the daily. Look at that. Did we close outside of the breakout? Maybe, but I think we're going up anyway. So where do we go? Well, I think we can go pretty much to 2.75. Very ever so slightly support and resistance here. So mini level at 2.75. And then I think $3 is a psychological and a technical resistance that's dated back for some time. So, and 2.75 is pretty much the midpoint because we're at 2.5. So I think these are pretty simple, bit like copper, actually. You've got in this case, a channel of 50 cents. And then here, the midpoint is 25 cents, whereas copper was really 20 cents, wasn't it? It was 3.73 and 3.93. So very similar, just the weekly chart isn't that good for copper. Okay, oil. This one also has declined more than I expected. Now, all the way down here, this for sure was always going to be strong support. But then again, I thought the same a bit higher. But here we are, we're sort of grinding a bit sideways after reclaiming the 70s. What do I think will happen? Depends on the markets also. Oil going down suggests demand is dropping. That's indicative of a weaker economy in the future, especially. We have geopolitics, though. The dollar could have an impact. A lot of moving parts to this one. So I like to stick to technicals. I think we have reclaimed so far a bit of a level, which is, I don't know, can I say 72.5-ish? So this should act as support since we're trading above it. If we start to close below, let's say 72 especially, we could go all the way back down to sort of 69. Who knows, maybe below 68 even, just the old lows down here. Otherwise, if we start to move higher, if we start to close above 75, then we should go all the way up to 78 with 80 being resistance. Psychologically, technically, for two reasons, the horizontal and the descending. So yeah, just to reiterate the point, I'd expect this area to be mini support if it goes lower than this level. And then if we start to close above 75 being a bit of resistance, I'd expect 78 and who knows, maybe even 80. Those are the levels I see on the more zoomed in chart. Let's look at the weekly. Yeah, okay, it makes more sense on the daily. But ultimately, I do expect oil to go all the way back up to 90, by the way. So, I mean, obviously, we'll have some stops on the way, some retracements, but since we can close above this descending, we should really move all the way back up to, yeah, 90, really, 90. Uranium is just grinding sideways up, always. As soon as it starts to look a little bit weak, and we start to look at maybe the first ascending support coming into play, it just reverses and has a beautiful, perfect day the next day. And here we are, testing above 30 or, 2 days later. So uranium for me just remains sideways, grind higher, higher lows, higher highs, climbing a wall of worry. Next stop, still haven't done it yet, 31.5, I expect to be tested. And once that's tested and closes above it, look, you've got to keep in mind the bigger picture being this is going up by quite a bit. Wow. That really is quite impressive. If you know the macro, well, I think I know the macro thesis behind uranium is just the only energy source that can really provide what all these countries are looking for, this green energy, sustainable, etc., etc. This is really, nuclear power is the only thing that can do it, unless you want to go back to coal and all the supposedly dirty resources. So this has a great future ahead of it. Platinum, which has been, compared to some of them, pretty stable. Look at this beautiful support here at, let's call it 840. I think we've touched the low definitely for the year, but for the last couple of I mean, I don't see us visiting the 840 region in a long time. Next stop, I would expect a retest of this descending, actually. I think we can go test 1,000 at least, and maybe even get to 1,050, at which point I expect a bit of a retracement, but who knows? The next time it tests it, we could close above it and look for a major move back up. So platinum looks good. Palladium, that had a massive breakout. I watched that as soon as I think I bought SBSW, the stock that really follows Palladium quite well. I've been watching that the last couple of weeks. So the breakout is real. We could retest. I don't see it happening, but if we did, I'd expect this descending to act as support. Next stop, really resistance 1,300. After that, it's probably going to retest this major support zone, which is hard to call it, maybe 1,500, between 1,500 and 1,600, I would say. So support is the old lows, but more importantly, the back test of this descending. And then the resistance, I would say 1,300, which we can reach any moment. And after that, 1,000, I would say 500 to 600.